Trump's defunct for-profit university is accused of scamming hopeful students with aggressive sales tactics and false promises. Claims Trump vigorously denies, even releasing a video of testimonials. Joining us now, the Attorney General of the state of New York, Eric Schneiderman, also with us, MSNBC chief legal correspondent, Ari Melber. Good to have you both with us. Ari, let me start with you as our chief legal correspondent. Just lay out in basic terms this back and forth.
The big controversy is what Trump University was, what it did, and why some people are unhappy with it. Others say they're very happy with what they got. Two big cases going on. One is a consolidated class action in California. This is the one that's been in the news this week with newly unsealed documents. You basically have a bunch of people who took these courses and say they thought they were going to get educated, and instead they felt that they got upsold and shook down and didn't get any of the education they were promised. Other people who've worked there or who've also been customers there disagree, and that's why we've heard these dueling narratives coming out of some of those newly unsealed documents. Add to that the very unusual, and I've said inappropriate comments by Donald Trump, sort of talking about the race of the judge and attacking the judge, relatively unheard of even in the rough and tumble world of high-stakes litigation. Door number two, which I don't have to speak as much about given the guest today here on Morning Joe, is this in civil enforcement action in New York. That's a totally separate case brought here by the New York Attorney General, looking at the idea that this was not an accredited university and that these are fraudulent claims. Both of these cases, from what I understand, are open and are likely to be resolved at trial after the November election.
So a lot of this looks slimy and sleazy to a lot of people, bilking people out of money, making false promises. But what is the specific crime as you see it?
It's fraud. This is a straight up fraud. It's like selling people something you say is a Mercedes and it turns out to be a Volkswagen. And even if some people say, well, I actually kind of like the Volkswagen, it's still fraud because it's not a Mercedes. This was not a university. And in New York, we are a little sensitive. You can't just put up a sign saying Scarborough Hospital, Scarborough University, Scarborough Law Firm.
I told him that. He did not listen to me.
Well, it's not a university. Trump's role was really as the pitchman. And we've got his videotapes, and we've got his sworn testimony, which undercuts every statement in the videotapes. He said, my hand-picked experts will teach you my personal secrets. He and the president of the university have already testified under oath. He never met the instructors. They weren't hand-picked. They weren't experts. Some of them came out of fast food and retail. And he had nothing to do with the secrets, supposed secrets that we're talking, because he had nothing to do with the curriculum. So people were led to believe they were getting the personal secrets of Trump during hard economic times. We're talking about 2008, 2009, 2010. People wanted to scramble to find a way to make money. He duped them in. Thousands of people paid millions of dollars, and we're out to get them their money back.
You say he duped them. How much does it matter whether people were confused in a reasonable or unreasonable way? Because there's a counter-argument here that if you go to Mike Ditka's Steakhouse or you go to Trump Soho, you're not necessarily going to see the proprietor doing much of anything. That according to his defense, is sort of baked in to the branding.
No, actually, the law is very, very clear. The law protects the gullible as well as the sophisticated. And as we've seen over the course of the last year, there are a lot of people who fall for Mr. Trump's promises and rhetoric. And in this case, though, there were carefully documented plans. We've got the playbooks, the scripts for the instructors. We've got the scripts that people use to call folks up. They would question people, and they had a whole series of ways to get at it, to find out how much of a limit they had on their credit cards to make sure they could afford the extra money for the Trump seminars. They told people, raise your credit limit on your credit cards. You can't succeed in real estate without a lot of credit. And then they would make them pay $10,000, $20,000, up to $35,000 for more Trump seminars.
So, Mr. Attorney General, obviously, I think this is one of the more devastating things against Trump because it cuts right into his for the little guy. It's obviously antithesis of that. It's squashing the little guy. Why would this case not be brought before the election? It is such a pivotal type thing.
Well, we sued him in 2013. So this is, he says it's a political case. Nobody in August of 2013 thought this guy's going to be the Republican nominee for president. Nobody in August of last year thought he was going to be the Republican.
So why can't this trial happen before the election?
We had a series of motions. The appellate division, the appellate intermediate court in New York ruled in our favor on every motion in March. Now he's taking it to the highest court. Once it's resolved, we're going to trial. But it's going to, these cases take a little bit of time. But it's, as the judge pointed out in the California case, he's releasing documents because there is a public interest reason for getting this out there. And as he said, Trump has called into question the judge. He's also called into question my character, and he's questioning the legitimacy of the proceedings. So it's good for the people to see what's really been going on in this case.
Has Trump been deposed in this case?
Yes, Trump has been deposed, and the president of the university, Michael Sexton.
Where's the deposition?
There is a deposition that has mostly been unsealed out in the California court. There still is some sealing, and that's another thing that may happen. There will be additional applications
But
to
have
unseal
you
it.
deposed Donald Trump? Has the New York State Attorney General's office deposed Donald
We
Trump?
have deposed the president of the university.
But not
Trump yet.
But in the California deposition is amazing because you've never seen a more concise and narrow answer Donald Trump than you see there.
He was just listening to his lawyer that day.
Are you going to depose Donald Trump here?
We do not need to depose Donald Trump. We can use the evidence that we've gathered.
Fun.
We're not here to have fun. I know that. I know. It's
legendary journalist.
It's hard to believe that there were thousands of people bilked out of millions of dollars. Our first priority is to get their money back and to reestablish the legitimacy of our system of educational institutions in New York State.
We played a clip a minute ago where Donald Trump was asked by Mike Barnicle a couple months ago if there had been any negotiations behind the scenes. Have you all spoken to Donald Trump about a settlement or ending this before trial?
Before the complaint was filed, yeah, there were settlement discussions.
With Donald Trump?
Well, I didn't speak with him personally, but our lawyers spoke to his lawyers, and there were offers going back and forth. He did offer to settle. He settles cases all the time.
Within the sale process, as it's been outlined, both in the depositions that have been released in California and from your explanations here this morning, is Donald Trump personally involved in the marketing of this product?
Donald Trump's sole role was in marketing. He was the pitch man. We have the videos of him making these false promises. He was not involved in the curriculum. He never met or trained the instructors, but he was clearly in charge of pitching this scam university to people, convincing them that it was his personal secrets and saying things like, come to the weekend seminar, learn what it took me a whole lifetime to learn in real estate. You can get rich too. That was his role.
I wonder, you talk about him being personally on the hook. A lot of people feel that the way he's run his businesses, certainly the way he's used bankruptcy law, means that he's never on the hook, and his defense to that has been, hey, I didn't write these laws to begin with. Why is he on the hook potentially in your case?
Well, in our case, the court has already ruled that he's personally liable for running an unlicensed university. So you can pierce the corporate veil in situations where someone is so closely associated with an institution, has control over its finances, that you can't hide behind the corporate shell. So in this case, we've already won on that. He is personally liable for running an unlicensed university. Once we get to the trial, we'll establish what the damages are and how much money the people get back.
For people following this election, the political side of it, how long do you see this playing out?
It's very hard to say. I would be surprised if any of the cases actually go to trial before the November election, but there may be some other pretrial practices demonstrated last week. The judge in California released some more documents. There may be some more revelations, but I don't think we're going to have a trial until after the election.
Okay. We'll see. New York State Attorney General Eric Schneiderman, thanks for being with us this morning. Appreciate it.
Hey there, I'm Chris Hayes from MSNBC. Thanks for watching MSNBC on YouTube. If you want to keep up to date with the videos we're putting out, you can click subscribe just below me or click over on this list to see lots of other great videos.